Joining me now is Pamela Young, who is the Managing Director of a consultancy named Growth Curve and also the author of a book called Stepping Up, which is, when that was published, is when I last spoke to Pamela on this program. G'day, Pamela.
Hello, Alan. Nice to see you again.
Now, ever since we last spoke in 2013, you've been doing a lot of work around Asia and talking to companies, helping companies get engaged in Asia. What's been the thing that has most struck you about that?
The big difference since I did the research in 2011 and 12 for the book and now is that people are much more aware of the opportunity in Asia and much more ready to put their foot in Asia if they're not already there.
Are they capable of it?
There are a lot of organisations that have been in Asia for a long time, and some have been very successful. Others have had some experiences which have not gone so well, and they've come back and reformed and they're trying to build more capability now. And then there are other organisations who haven't been yet and don't know how to get started. And one of our challenges is we're in the region, we're only a 2-hour time zone difference for most Asian cities, but we don't have a lot of experience in living and working there as a nation. We've got, a smaller percentage of our population have had cross-cultural experience. So relative to Europeans who live amongst cultures and have different language capability, we're at a slight disadvantage.
Is it possible to generalise about the more successful companies? Are they the ones who employ more people who are Asian, located in Asia when they set up a business in Asia, or when they send people from here as expats to run the business? What's the right balance? And do you talk to companies about that?
What they do, a lot of businesses who have been in the region for a long time are now employing locals more, much, much more. Some of them are, 80 or 90% local hires. And many of the cities are much more experienced in technical skills and running businesses than they were 20 or 30 years ago. Some of the executives I've spoken to in some of the major cities like Beijing, Singapore, Jakarta are saying, look, the locals are looking at us now saying, what are you still doing here? 20 years ago, we were really keen to have you come, bring your technical skills and capabilities. Now we have these, and if we haven't got them, we can get them via the internet or, virtual. So what they're looking for now is much stronger leadership and strategic skills from our expats. But what is happening is if you get tagged by your company to go and set up an operation overseas, that's a real ego boost, isn't it? So you go up there thinking you're the winner, you're the hero, you're the one who's been tagged with this responsibility. If we don't also recognise that there's something we might not have, which is if we haven't lived there before and if we haven't got skills and capabilities and language capabilities, then we're missing something which is going to make us very successful in that endeavour. So while we aren't going up there because we've got the strategic capability and our company's trusting us to set up that operation, we have to recognise that if we haven't been there before, we've got something to learn, which is local culture, and you can only do that by integrating when you get there. But
are the people being sent to Asia to set businesses up, are they being sufficiently prepared?
Well, what I've heard from the expats in Asian cities is not enough of them are sufficiently well prepared, and those that are not prepared fail to integrate socially and in the business with the local people. And if they fail to do that sufficiently, then the locals in a way shut them out. They can be passive aggressive in the way that they manage you, and if they don't do well, they don't stay very long, which upsets their careers, and it might be very bad for the company if they don't achieve their goals.
And to what extent is it a problem within the Australian business to not be sufficiently diversified, if you know what I mean? Like, it's all very well to have locals employed in your business in Asia, but if the people in head office have no idea what's going on and have no kind of cultural diversity themselves and don't really know anything about the country that's going on up there, then obviously there's still this big gap between them.
Look, a lot of our executives in our biggest companies have worked overseas, so they do have an appreciation. But when you're very focused on delivering a strategy, you've got goals to meet and you've got a short time frame, the pressure goes on. And when the pressure goes on, you stop thinking about the things that take longer and softer skills, and you just become very rigorous and goal-oriented, and you charge forward to achieve what you have to achieve. Sometimes you have to slow down and ask. You've got to be more inquiring, and you've got to be listening. So while we might have that skill and capability, we forget that when we get there, we've got to engage with the local people. And not just tell them what we want them to do, but we have to listen because they might have some ideas about how we can do it better. And what I'm picking up from the Australian expats in those cities in Asia is that they are seeing too many situations where the people aren't prepared and they're not listening and not engaging. And
the people being the expats?
Expat Australians,
yes.
Leaders of major banks and telcos and foreign affairs, they're working in those cities, and they do see situations where we could do a lot better. Now, that said, we do pretty well for a small nation in the region, so I'm not trying to, put out the message that we're not doing well, but we could do better. And for us to do better back home here, we can integrate the Asians that live in Australia. And if we integrated them better in our businesses here, those skills and capabilities would come into the company here. And so if we had them at the top of our organisation helping us with decision-making around going to Asia, that would prepare us in a lot better way than we do now.
Is what you're saying that in order to succeed in Asia, you actually have to have softer goals, or at least longer-term goals? You can't really drive the thing. You can't drive the subsidiary or the operation as hard as you might drive something else, a business within Australia.
Yeah, I think it's a balance. There are some occasions where you might be able to drive faster goals, but I guess what I'm saying is that you absolutely need to be sensitive to the local people. If you go there today with the same attitude as we went in the 80s, which is that we're coming to bring skills and knowledge that they don't have, and therefore we are the superior in the person in the room, that's not the case anymore, because a lot of Asians in a lot of these major cities have international skills. They have, multiple degrees and very technically capable. They may not have the same approach as we do, so therefore we need to be more inquiring and listen and be prepared to modify the way we go about doing our business.
And how important is language in this? And do Australian businesses and business people have enough language? I mean, do they need more?
Some people have survived very well up there. I can think of some executives who've come back after 6 years and haven't learned, any Mandarin or any Korean or any Vietnamese, and they do very well because English is still the business. They manage to do business in English. However, those that have learned languages while they've been away have found it extremely valuable in developing relationships and integrating into the local society. So I think before you go, to do a short course and pick up some social language skills, to be able to say, hello, how are you? What a nice home you have, how are the children, just some basics help to integrate. And when you learn language, you learn about culture, you learn about the sensitivity of, the way people behave and the values of their society. And it's an important thing to have. If people came here and knew nothing about our values, we would be put off.
If you didn't know where you were going to be posted, which language would you choose? Would it be Mandarin?
Mandarin, of course, is spoken in many countries across Asia because there are Chinese pockets all over the place, as well as in Australia. It's a good one to learn. Any language gives you some understanding of how languages are learned and how to structure that in your mind. So any language capability is an advantage. Even if you're learning Spanish, it's going to help when you get to start to learn other languages. But the most popular one would be Mandarin right now. Japanese, Indonesian, those are languages that are still taught in schools, which are readily accessible to most people. And the night classes are quite easy to go along to. A couple of hours a week doesn't do you any harm, does it?
No, indeed. Well, have you come away from the past 12 months optimistic about Australia's engagement in Asia?
Yes, definitely. Yes, I'm pumped. I think there's plenty of potential. But I am having heard from our colleagues who are posted in these major cities about our, I suppose it's a bit of an arrogance. Some of our people are going up there feeling a little bit too confident and they're not making enough effort to get to work with the locals. I think that there's more we could do. And I think the secret is ask questions, inquire more and recognise that we're foreigners in that land. And when you're an immigrant into someone else's country, you need to make a bit more effort to find out how it works and be prepared to sort of work in with it. You'll be much more successful if you can do that.
I've been talking to Pamela Young, who's the Managing Director of Growth Curve, which is a consultancy, and author of Stepping Up.